approximately a year since the release of the Tiberius Arms T15 magazine-fed rifle, and a lot of you guys have been asking me to do a review on this gun. And now that I've had a lot of experience with it, learning how to tech it and understand the system, I figure it's time for me to give my full review on the Tiberius Arms T15.
So one thing I didn't like about the case that the marker came in, well, it is a beautiful case. As soon as you start accessorizing your marker like this, it becomes almost useless. I say almost because you can still put tools and maybe a few extra magazines and assorted stuff like that in your manual, everything like that. But what I would like to see in the future with cases like this, because I do like the design of giving a nice case, a high quality case with the marker comes in, but just leave it with the bumpy foam so you can accessorize your marker and still be able to fit in the case, because it has all those, it's pre-cut for the stock marker like this. You cannot fit something like this in without taking off your optics, your grenade launchers, your grips, whatever you have, which is fine. I mean, some people do make the case work. They get pretty fancy with their X-Acto knives and can cut pretty fancy shapes in there, but I just don't like the hassle of unscrewing everything every time I leave the field and arrive at the field. What I love about this marker is the endless customizability options you can have on it. It has a delta ring system that allows you to mount either airsoft replica or real steel handguards. On my T15 right now, I am currently running a Daniel Defense Omega 7.0 rail system, and then I have an airsoft M203 on the bottom. I have a mag pull grip and trigger guard, and I'm using just the stock air tank setup here with the 13 CIs in the back. So the one thing that is absolutely outstanding about the T15, and I cannot speak enough about, is these magazines that it came with. Tiberius spent a lot of time on these magazines. They are incredible, incredibly durable. These things are built like a tank, really, really tiny. These things are mil-spec in this dimension and this dimension, from what I could tell at least. They are a little bit longer than an AR-15 mag, but for how much ammo you're getting in this, it's an incredible, incredible feat. These hold 20 round balls and 19 first strike rounds if you have the newer versions. And what I really love about them is how easy they are to take apart. So you just wind the follower down. So then you just unscrew these two little screws you have here. Screws are removed, keep those in a safe spot, and then you can just peel the halves together like that. Beautiful system. And now, as you can see, the track actually turns. I'll get some first strikes here in a minute and show you how that looks. A recommended modification I would do to these magazines is you have this brass tube. It's normally free. Using some epoxy or some super glue or something, get that all dried off, wipe the oil off that, and glue it into its position here. So that way when you take apart the magazine and you wind it up, your spring and your follower are locked in this tube here and they're not shooting out or anything like that. Really, really easy. Then you can just take your cloth, wipe any broken paint you may have in there, and then slap them back together, 2 screws, and you're ready to rock. That's it. So this is how amazing this first strike feeding system works. It puts them on the y-axis. On the y-axis, as it comes around, it flips them on their back, and then it pushes them around the U. And you get no flips, nothing. It's just really, really, really cool how they did this. This is one thing that is absolutely amazing, and I think more companies should and are already starting to follow this design. In terms of efficiency, it's amazing. I'm constantly getting about 7 or 8 mags out of a 13 cubic inch tank, which is quite impressive. Once the PSI does drop a little bit, you'll get maybe a break a little bit in the breech every once in a while at the end there when it's starting to run a little low. But in terms of efficiency, it's amazing. In terms of consistency, I get an FPS swing of about 7, give or take, so it's not the most consistent marker in the world. So this is the stock T15. This is how it's going to come when you get it, minus I guess the grip. So this is the handguard it comes with. It is awful. I would suggest getting a free floating one as soon as you can. These set screws on it come loose all the time, and it doesn't stay locked into the delta ring very well. While this design is pretty good, there are some things that I think they could have done better for sure. and the construction and materials is definitely one of them. As you can see, this is the gas block. Some people like it, I don't, but regardless if you like it or do, does not deny the fact that it's cheap and it can twist off and come right out. And you can put it back on if you want. I don't know why you would, because it's hideous and I really don't like the look of it. I think this looks much better. The barrel system is interesting. If you would like to run a handguard like this, for instance, and still keep using the barrel sleeve that comes with it, you gotta make sure you know that your handguard is in fact wide enough to be able to house the barrel sleeve. That's very important. Because this handguard is so low profile, I could not actually fit it over top of the really fat 1-inch barrel that comes with the gun, and then the barrel sleeve on top of that. So I had to remove that thing entirely and just run the barrel straight from the breech all the way out and tighten down the set screw that's on the top, which I will show you guys in a minute here. So here you have the barrel sleeve, and it keeps the barrel stable if you want to have your nut loose and be able to quick twist it to hopper mode on the fly. As you can see here, you can replace this dust cover with the hopper feed one that comes on and sticks on there, and then you can twist the barrel and this will open up and allow paintballs to feed through, but just don't do that, it's silly. The hopper adapter may have been a nice inclusion for new players getting into MagFed, but as advertising it to the majority of our audience and the people that will be buying this, I think they should have not included that and they should have just had threads off the bat. I don't know why they would advertise this as being a 1-to-1 scale replica and it being the most realistic MagFed marker in the world and then proceed to include a hopper adapter. Preferably, I would like to see companies going the route of Honor Corps and RAP4 where their guns are incapable of even receiving hopper adapters. I would rather use the 2 mags that came with this gun, even if you're struggling to find mags, than to put a big hopper on there. And apologize to those that think that is wrong, but that's just me being a MagFed enthusiast. So while the T15s have been getting better with each production run, they still do have issues. So this is an amazing gun if you have the patience to get it working right, and you can just work through it slowly, carefully. Reach out on the Facebook page that there's a Tiberius Arms T15 owners Facebook group, and those guys are great. They'll help you out. This is one of the earlier models that I have here. I finally gotten it working after several months of maintenance issues and figuring things out. Relatively simple with an Allen key or something rigid. You pop out the rear body pin, split the upper and lower. You have access to your manifold O-ring, your trigger group, and your bolt assembly. Really easy, just like a real AR-15. Spring, you can pull back the charging handle and you can take the bolt out the back. I find these run a lot better if you use a lot of lubrication, a high quality oil.
So here you have your upper manifold and your manifold O-ring, and you have 2 ports here. This guy is your velocity adjustment port, which you can stick an Allen key in right in the side of the marker here and adjust accordingly without removing the whole manifold. And then you have your recock port. Now this is the one that a lot of people talk about and how to get the most efficiency. When you get your T15 stock, these ports are usually completely open. As you can see right above my nail there, there's a little kind of white looking bar there. That's a screw that's screwed all the way in, most of the way in, and only a little bit of air can pass through there. So that way you get more efficiency, but usually when you get these, they're completely open. So the gun cycles extremely well, but you only find you'll get about like 3 magazines maybe on a 13 CI fill or something like that. So what you want to do to get access to your manifold and get access to that recocking screw is there is a little hole right here. Camera's not, there we go. Right there. And so all you have to do is with an extremely tiny Allen key, if I have one on me here. So with your little Allen key, you're just going to push in that hole, and there is a spring-loaded detent on there, so you're going to push that in. Then with your other free fingers you can slowly rotate the manifold out of place with the magic of editing. There it is removed. That Allen screw there, or hex screw, that's what you use to adjust the recocking pressure. So you can see the table through it there on the top. And you want to have just a little half moon kind of shape going. I have mine filled up about 75% of the way closed, and you just tighten that to get that screw in there. And if it's not, if it's too tight, your gun will be starved for air, and you'll get it won't be supplying the bolt with enough air to cycle all the way, and then in which case all you have to do is back this screw out. With the manifold removed, you have access to this O-ring. Make sure that this stays all lubricated and nice. Really, that's as far down as you need to go for maintenance. I've never had to touch this. This is still my stock O-ring. But I'd suggest if you get this marker, you get one of the T15 players repair pack or whatever that Tiberius sells. I think they're about 50 bucks. And you get a bunch of O-rings. You get another one of these valve pins here. And a bunch of screws, another spring, a bunch of other good stuff. I'd get one of those if you plan on running one of these. So I'm just going to show you guys quickly how you can eliminate most chops with this gun. Now a lot of people, when they get this gun, they're excited and they just treat it like a normal marker. Now because of this system, you can't store this gun with the bolt installed here, or you either have to remove the barrel. I'm just going to pull back the charging handle here, and you will see the bolt come back. In there, that's where your detents are, the Tiberius rubber nubbing detents. And if you're familiar with the T8s and T9s, they're exactly the same thing. They are in your barrel. You can kind of see one there. I've squished mine, so I've done exactly what you guys are not going to do. But if you store the gun with the bolt in it, the bolt will sit on those detents, and it will flatten them out. So that way when you put a magazine ready for play, there's nothing that will prevent maybe a second ball feeding in halfway, or it won't hold the ball properly in the breech, and you'll get a bunch of chops. So either when you're storing the marker, either store it with the gun cocked. And a lot of people think that could be bad for the return spring there. I think the spring can handle it. I don't think it's a huge issue. But if you're storing it for a prolonged period of time, I would say just remove the bolt entirely. Get that out of there, and then you don't have to worry about flattening out your detents. So in conclusion, the Tiberius Arms T15 is an amazing 1-to-1 scale near replica, which is quite impressive. Unfortunately, the barrel system is a little weird and it creates a headache for some of us. I would have preferred to see just normal threading like every other marker there. However, because of the good price point, you have that little bit of extra money you can spend on adapters and whatnot. The stock handguard needs to go. Customization is the name of the game with this, and the handguard it comes with is terrible to what you should have on there for this gun. The magazines are amazing. Now what I've been told when selecting a mag-fed marker is always look at the magazines. It's incredibly important to pick a gun that has great magazines, and these definitely hold up. Unfortunately, because of the good price point though, some of the materials were cut down a little bit in terms of quality. It's mostly just the fiddly bits though, so things like little screws and everything. That's where you get really kind of cheap metal, and they strip quite easily. It's not so much the receiver, but you can buy parts for that. It's a very air efficient gun, which is incredibly nice. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult to find magazines though, so always keep an eye out for extras. Maintenance is easy, and when you open up the gun, it's very satisfying the first time to take it out of that nice packaging. Basically, I think the Tiberius T15 is a great gun. It does have a few issues, but I think it's totally worth it for what it can accomplish when it's been properly tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed my review, and stay tuned for a proper accuracy test.